So I was telling Andy before the call, I had the sales guy, and the sales guy was super fearless. 10 years ago, he calls up the International Trade Administration, and he's like, hey, we want to present to you and stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, sure. Let's form this relationship. I've been presenting for them for the last 10 years, and it's been wonderful. They have an event called Export Tech. I get about 2 clients a year from it. It's actually really, really wonderful. But one of the things that they always try to do is they try to say, hey, how can we make the world as small as possible? And what I mean by that is, what, from a marketing perspective, from a technology perspective, how can I make it actually like smaller? And so I just did this presentation, and so rather than reinventing new ideas for today's show, I thought I would go over some of the highlights of what I brought up. And then I'm going to close with some Adobe Max stuff if you didn't see that already.
Sounds
all
good.
Right, so this right here is YouTube and HeyGen. HeyGen already has this tool out. YouTube, this is going to be out in Q4. And this is kind of crazy technology. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but maybe our audience hasn't. You see, most companies struggle to prove ROI on their marketing because they neither have the time nor the expertise. Our system ensures that businesses make data-driven decisions. And with that, they're able to grow and scale their business with clarity. Okay, now here's where it gets cool. Please focus on my eyes and my mouth and my gestures. De acuerdo, ahora aquí es donde se pone interesante. Por favor, concéntrate en mis ojos, mi boca y mis gestos. D'accord, maintenant voici où ça devient cool. Veuillez vous concentrer sur mes yeux, ma bouche et mes gestes. ठीक है, यहाँ ठंडा हो जाता है. कृपया आंखों, मुंह और इशारों पर ध्यान दें. Ora ecco dove diventa interessante. Concentrati su occhi, bocca e gesti. Jetzt wird's cool. Koncentrieren Sie sich auf Augen, Mund, Gesten. Dobra, teraz zaczyna się fajnie. Skup się na moich oczach, ustach i zachowaniu. Ok, aqui é onde fica legal. Por favor, concentre-se nos meus olhos, boca e gestos. 现在就要变得很酷了，请注意我的眼睛、嘴巴和手势。It's pretty scary, right? Now let's take it one step farther. This is me speaking in English. Pretty creepy, right? 这是我用普通话说话。And now I'm back. So what you sort of saw here was I simply just uploaded a video into HeyGen. It's connected to 11 Labs, and essentially you can basically delineate what voice you want it basically to export in. So you will speak in English, and the people on the other side will hear it in their native tongue. They also have technologies out there called RSI, which is real-time simulated interpretation. And when you combine that with just some of the things that we're doing with ChatGPT, where you literally just go in, you have something in English, you do a prompt, you can change it to Mandarin, and then you can use one of their third-party plugins, and it has what's called the translation rater. Basically, it rates how well did it do a translation. And so what it's doing here is it's making the world like very, very small.
Yeah, right. Just like you said. Yep.
You know, and I think if you think about total addressable market, you're thinking about if you selling products and services. You know, I do believe that these technologies are like even the virtual avatars. They're going to be in a spot where it's going to open up, like I said, that addressable market in ways that I saw this technology coming, but it just felt like it was an idea that's going to be in the future, and then it was just here. And it's just shocking how quick everything is coming. Now, Spotify is getting crushed. They put $1 billion into podcasts, and they got a lot of pie on their faces. But by the end of Q4, every podcast that we've ever done, past and in the future, will be in every language across the world. So Mr. Beast was on Joe Rogan. He was talking about, hey, how do you get so many likes? How many get so views? And he's like, I spent a ton of money translating all my stuff into all these different languages. And this is just going to be done for us. So Spotify, while in the short term, they're sort of getting crushed. In the long term, I actually think, like you said, the total addressable market, I think they're going to make a ton of money in ad revenue. If they can own the content, not the own the content, yeah, they're going to own the content from some certain terms and conditions. They're going to come out as a really big winner. All right. Let me get into the Adobe stuff, and then we'll talk about both of them together.
Okay. Yeah, I'm reeling, but I'm ready. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep hammering on us, Chris. That's fine.
Yeah. So from an Adobe Firefly standpoint, you've seen a lot of the newer stuff. Obviously, you speak this from an editing standpoint. You basically type in a prompt, and you can change things, type of day, you can change the background, et cetera, et cetera. You want lanes on the road, you just ask for it and it's there. I work with a lot of orthopedic surgeons. They don't wear stethoscopes. I ask for it to be removed, and it's done. But the new thing that and then this is another fun, just for fun. This was done by Vermeer, probably in like the 1600s.
Yep.
You just ask the AI, and it just imagines the background.
I've seen
You
that.
can do that.
Yeah.
Yep. Runway, Runway
Midjourney.
ML is going to do the same thing, and they'll do that in video format, right? So you got some crazy stuff that's happening with that. And then now Adobe just had their Max event, and the Max event was really, really cool. I've never been to this event, but man, it looks like a really fun place to party. But they have something here.
And then you can just click on things and move them around. Matter of fact, delete it. The shadow goes with it, there are no holes in the background, and we can put something else in her hand instead. All of these blurry people in the background that I want to take out, I don't even need to tell it who to delete. It just understands the assignment. And if you want to change your outfit, you just select each piece with one click and describe the clothes you want to wear in your own words.
So like, what did you just see here? This is just a normal photo.
I saw the end of democracy. Rand, what did you see?
Yeah. You're not kidding. I mean, like literally, you could just be like, "Hey, I don't even want the suitcase there. Okay, let's move that out of the way." The AI imagines the background, and then let's just change it to
amazing.
flowers.
Yep.
There's 3 different flowers here on the bottom. You want to change out the people? Sure. It just imagines. Yeah, that should be a good idea. And they're gone.
Yeah.
Change outfits? Sure. Gone. Okay, fine. Now my major thing here, and this is the point of concern, is the thing that I can't find in Midjourney, I can't find in Adobe here, is what I'm calling like the continuity, the idea of continuity. And so it's amazing that they're doing really great ideation and doing all this stuff. But I think where marketers are going to really need to see this is that, hey, this is the template of my brand. These are the things that I liked, and these are the variables of what I want to see change. And so it's really great that it's early days and we're in ideation. But I think that whatever company, like I think Canva is probably going to take a really big bite at that. But it's just going to be one of these scenarios where you're going to have to be in a scenario where you say, this is my brand, this is the continuity I want to do, this is the variables I want to change it in different social media formats and things like that. And it's got to be intuitive to know what stays and what goes.
Makes sense. Kind of like the language generators like Jasper and these tools are actually trying to keep everything in the brand voice in terms of text. You just described continuity like to create a visual standard where we're hot pink, we're always hot pink, don't show me any pale pinks. You just set that standard and then everything aligns?
Yeah. I mean, that's where I feel like this has to go, because ideation can get you so far, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, part of what you just did kind of avoided a lot of the issues like creator rights. You mostly showed editing use cases, which is a bit refreshing after a lot of the stuff we see related to like just creating images out of nothing. And what does that do for people that, for photographers or, game designers or fine artists? Like it's, the digital art world is upside down already. But those are things I think, it's really hard to say that there's except for fake news and the problems with truth and veracity and like, what are we seeing? Do we believe what we see? Mostly you just showed those are fantastic use cases, and we know that Adobe trained everything it has on its own stuff. So it didn't use anything that's anyone else's copyright to be trained. And it's mostly cool with all of that. And the algorithmic way to edit images. Some of that we're familiar with just from our phones, but that is a big productivity gain for all the touch-up people in the world, for sure.
Yeah. Now, my argument, because I'm basically doing this state of AI thing about 20 times a month, and the main thing we were saying was like, am I going to lose my job? I'm a graphic designer. And what I've seen is there was a line in the movie Limitless where he takes this pill and the next day he goes back to the drug dealer and he's like, dude, what is in that? And he goes, well, it's really good if you're smart already. What I'm finding is that people that have no artistic skill are getting to good, but the players that already have a lot of really great creativity, it's like rocket fuel. And so I do believe that there's going to be a lot of real estate for really creative people to really explode with this. And it's not going to be like the average person just took my job. I think there's going to be room, at least in the short run.
Well, back to that first thing you said, which touched a nerve for me, because I spent 4 years in a classroom studying Mandarin in college, got an Asian language degree, moved to China, immersed myself for another 9 months. That's how long it took me to learn Chinese. I have mixed feelings seeing you speak 11 languages in 10 seconds with no effort.
Yeah.
But I think we just all have to say, like, you know, if the United Nations made this statement years ago, you know, access to information is a human right. If access to information is a human right, then what you just described is accessibility, not just lowercase a accessibility for the world. So making the world smaller, I think, is generally good. As kind of a left-leaning globalist, I'm cool with that. And reaching more people, helping more people. What's the mission of any content marketer? Let's make a difference. So, Rand, what do you think?
The firepower that you two have, just one last thing. Like, you guys have a much larger audience than I have. Everything you've ever done from your Whiteboard Fridays, or was it Whiteboard Fridays? What was that? How did you brand that, Rand?
The new one, the new series is 5-minute whiteboards. Yeah.
5-minute white. You know what I mean? Everything you've ever done, they're literally going to go back with YouTube, and it's going to be in every language. You know, and it's not like you went and you're like, okay, great. Now I got to go back and everything I've ever done, I got to pay like some virtual assistant to upload it. It's just done.
Yeah.
Like your TAM just went worldwide. It's crazy.
Yeah. I wonder, I don't know. I have quite a bit of skepticism around this in terms of, I wonder to what extent someone would want to, especially for small and medium creators, listen to someone AI generated in not their native language and find that compelling, and like the cultural references are all right, and even if the translation is flawless and perfect and the mouth movements all look great, I question whether I would resonate in French or Italian or German or Mandarin the way I do with an English speaking audience. My guess is less so.
That is for sure true, because anyone in the category of translations knows that it's not just translation, but it's localization. Culture matters. They won't get any of the references. It's just like a photocopy replacing the words. There's no, it doesn't necessarily, it's not even meant to land. It's just meant to be translated. It's the difference between translation and interpretation. Translators
so
do
I think
text.
I think there's use cases for all this stuff. I will say, Chris, I'm by no means an AI expert. Most of my AI usage is not in the visual or artistic world. I do run an indie video game studio. I don't know if a lot of folks know that, but
what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I run a small. There's only 4 of us right now. We're trying to hire an artist, but the world of video games, right, is incredibly anti all AI art, right? And so the major platforms, Steam, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, don't even allow games on that are found to have used any AI in their art gen, in their art stuff. And I think reasonably so, right? Because those platforms sort of fear lawsuits and what does the future look like. The EU came out with their regulation proposal around like AI training data and stuff, which could create a bunch of risk for anybody who uses this stuff in their actual products or whatever. So I think there's risk around that. And OpenAI, all these other guys, right, they definitely followed the Facebook playbook of hey, there's no laws and regulations, so that means we don't need to have ethics either, right? Like, I'll just steal everybody's stuff from, if it's on the internet, it's ours now, right? And that's our training data. And then, I don't know, the sort of sketchy way that they paid, I think very, very undercompensated folks to do millions of hours of human review on top of it, and make it look good. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that this stuff will be used. I think I have questions about whether small and medium businesses and marketers should be adopting, how fast they should be adopting. And you know what my biggest point around this would be, which is I think you have an obligation to be aware of what is available. And I think this is the best thing you're doing, Chris, is making people aware of what's available, what's possible, what's coming, like all these tools, so that if you go through the process of what are the biggest problems my business is facing right now, and at the top of that list are things that these tools can solve more efficiently and effectively than your existing processes, you should use them. And if that's not the case, you should not try and shoehorn in a solution just because you're like, oh, it's so new and hot right now. Like I'm going to do, I have real fear that there are a bunch of people who, 10 years ago were like, oh, mobile apps are so hot. I need to make a mobile app for my business.
We remember that.
No, you didn't. Right. And 5 years ago, people were like, oh, NFTs and crypto, so hot. I need to make a coin. I need to make an NFT. I need to get on the blockchain. Nope. And AI is not those two things. I want to be clear. It is definitely more useful. There's way more use cases. There's a lot more things you can do with it. But man, if you're not actually solving your biggest business problems and you've instead said, what can we use AI to do here?
Yeah.
Man, that's broken process, my friends. That's management by idiocy. No offense.
No, it's not strategic. You're not goal focused. The definition
exactly.
of yeah.
Solve your business problems, solve your customers' problems, make your product better. If AI can help you do that, awesome. If you're searching for anytime someone's searching for a problem to solve because they already have a solution.
You know what though? I'll be honest. We all do that a little bit right now, right, Chris?
Oh yeah.
So here's my only pushback on that, and I'm 95% in agreement with that. My only pushback on that is like almost every innovation we've had, it started out like when you think of cloud, don't trust the cloud, all that stuff like that. Now it's $1 trillion venture, and there's this guy named Dr. Wasserman, he's at MIT, and he basically says, a lot of these technologies will help you rejuvenate first, and then they'll help you basically take a new product to a next level, but then eventually they go into pioneering. And the pioneering is like, hey, this is land we've never been on before. And the technology actually lets you pioneer. And like in a very weird way, I think no offense here, guys, but the three of us are just old men. I think that kids that are video gaming with people in China right now, I think that they're knocking down barriers that you and the three of us are just like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. But we don't sort of live in this younger generation that just doesn't see barriers as barriers the way we inherently do. At least I do. Sorry to call you guys old men, but you get my point.
I feel older than ever, Chris. You are. That felt on brand for me.
It's a relief for me. Like I need to be called old so that the way I envision myself and the way I feel match up.
Yeah.
Did you see that? There's this viral video and this girl goes to a supermarket. She goes to buy alcohol and she hands the ID to the person. The person hands it right back. And he goes, are you going to look at it? She goes, oh, you were born in the 1900s. You're good.
This is a true off-topic story. I'm waiting in line to get into a club, and yes, I still do that sometimes. And I get to the front of the line and I reach into my wallet, or it's the back of my phone, and I pull it out and hand it to the guy, right, thinking it's my ID. I handed him my library card. He looked at it, handed it back, and said, "Get the fuck in here."
Because no one under 21 got a library card.
Nobody under 21 has a library card, dude. Get in this club. You're fine. No, but that's
love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving along. I'm going to move us along. So the podcast thing, fascinating format. Very interested. I can see how Spotify is playing a long game. I get that. I love that. I've done that. We're doing it now. But podcasts are famous for being kind of a black hole in terms of data, not a strong generator of traffic. I'm going to segue into, Rand, some of your thoughts about the no-click reality that we live in, or low-click or zero-click.